Okay, we want to say good evening, we want to say good morning, or we want to say good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. And we know that we're very happy for you to be here. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of House Calls with your man, Dr. Rory T. Edwards. So I'm your host, Dr. Rory T. Edwards, the founder and Chief Durability and Human Development Strategist of the Rory T. Edwards Group, where we are committed to helping individuals, families, athletes, executives, educators, organizations discover their purpose, maximize their potential, and transform their lives through leadership development, holistic wellness, personal growth, and the Empower 9 Wellness Method. As always, thank you for inviting me into your homes, your vehicles, your workplaces, your classrooms, and your hearts. This month on our house calls, we've been discussing the word assimilation, right? That's what we've been discussing, assimilation, the cost of becoming someone else. So in episode 1, we talked about the system and how many people spend their lives seeking acceptance from structures that were never designed for them in mind. Now, week 2, we didn't really get to it because I am traveling. You see, I'm in different attire today because I am working some basketball tournaments on the West Coast. But we were discussing posture and the danger of accepting labels that others assign to us. So we're going to go back to that one since I didn't have the opportunity to do it. But today, we celebrate Father's Day. We know on Sunday is Father's Day. And this is probably the most personal of the conversations that we'll have during the month of June, which is actually Men's Health Month. But it's also the month for which we celebrate Juneteenth, which will be Friday. But today's house call is something that's very dear to me, and it should be dear to everybody who is breathing, because today's title is called The First Mirror. And it's because before we ever went into the world, before the world ever gave us a definition of who we were, many of us learned about ourselves through our fathers. Whether they were present, whether they were absent, whether they were nurturing, whether they were distant, whether they were strong or struggling, every father leaves a reflection. And so that's why we're talking about the first mirror. Every father leaves an imprint because every father becomes our mirror. So my opening narrative, I want you to think back to your childhood. Think about the first man you've watched closely. The first man whose voice carried weight. The first man whose actions taught lessons, whether intentional or not. For some of us, that was our biological fathers. It was our fathers who stepped in to be our fathers. It was a grandfather, an uncle, a coach, a pastor, a teacher, a neighbor. Someone stepped into that role. Someone became that example. And whether we realize it or not, many of the beliefs we hold about ourselves today were shaped by what we saw reflected in that mirror. For some, the mirror reflected strength. For others, it reflected pain. For some, it reflected stability. For others, uncertainty. But every mirror leaves a mark. So you know what I got to do. When the doctor's in the house, I got to give you a diagnosis. When you welcome me into your humble abode, I got to give you the diagnosis. So today's diagnosis is what I call inherited identity. Inherited identity occurs when we unknowingly adopt beliefs about ourselves based upon the examples, experiences, and environments that were created by those who raised us, right? Many people are not just simply living their own story. They are living reactions to someone else's story. Some are trying to become their fathers. Others are trying desperately not to become them. Some are carrying lessons. Others are carrying wounds. Many are carrying both. The challenge is that if we never examine those influences, we can spend our lives repeating patterns we never consciously chose. Because a lot of times with most of us, especially in the work that I do, when I meet some people who haven't had their fathers in their lives and they're negatively talking about them, I say, well, the one good thing is that he created you. So if you believe that you're the exception to the rule, you have to accept the fact that God gave him the opportunity to be able to create you. So either you become him or you do not become him. But there's your choice. It's your choice. You can't sit up here and live in the pain your entire life. You have to either deflect the pain, or you have to know how to release the pain and become the example for which you will never allow that curse to happen again. So let's go to my first discussion point. Being a father and fathering are not the same thing. There's a lot of people out there who consider themselves fathers, but are not fathering. Let's begin with the truth. This may be uncomfortable for some people. Being a father and fathering are not the same thing. Fatherhood is biology. Fathering is responsibility. Fatherhood is conception. Fathering is commitment. Fatherhood can happen in a moment. Fathering requires a lifetime. The world has many fathers because there's over 300 million people. There's a lot of fathers. What is desperately needed is more men who father, men who show up, men who stay present, men who provide guidance, men who teach values, men who offer consistency, men who become examples. Children rarely remember what you bought them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. They never forget who showed up. They never forget who was missing. So I want to share with you a reflection question. I want you to ponder on this. Who was the first man who taught you something about life? And what lessons are you still carrying today? Now, lessons, sometimes we don't play the word game the way it should be played. We look at lessons in the first way that we would determine on how that word fit into our life. We either attach something positive to it or we attach something negative to it. Now, lessons could be, what did I learn from that? Or what did I learn to leave from that? So lessons aren't just something that could be negative. Lessons are also very positive. But we got to ask people, what was it, the lesson that I learned from the first man who taught me something about life? Now, let's go to my discussion point 2. Fathers give more than provisions. Most people say fathers are the 3 P's: protector, provider, and they provide, protect, and produce. But one of the greatest misconceptions about fatherhood is that father's primary responsibility is financial. Fathers aren't put on this earth to be the financial bearer. Because in reality, if we're really talking about the world that most of us who are listening to this broadcast understand, that when you step out into the world every day as a man, and this is not an excuse. This is not an excuse for any man who's not holding his own. But when you step out into that world every day, I remember my grandmother said, when I stepped out into the world, I had to be twice as good. Well, what about when you're 5 times better? Do you still get the opportunities that someone who's only half as good gets? No, because we have to realize that every day, especially for men of color, we are under attack every day. So it's very difficult for you to say that the father's primary responsibility is financial, even though providing financially is important, but provisions extend far beyond money. Fathers provide identity. Fathers provide confidence. Fathers provide security. Fathers provide direction. Fathers provide belief. Many successful adults can still remember one sentence their father spoke about decades ago. I guarantee anybody listening can go back and remember, you know what? What my father told me these many years ago now makes sense. Because sometimes when gems are dropped on you, they are not always meant to blossom at the time that you're being told them. They're supposed to come up later on when you're really needing them, right? So one sentence I want you to remember. See if you can remember one sentence, one affirmation, one correction, one moment. Because words matter, presence matters, consistency matters. A father often becomes the first voice that teaches a child what to believe about themselves. That's why positive fathering creates confidence and why absent fathering creates questions. Questions like, am I enough? Am I lovable? Am I capable? Do I matter? Many adults are still trying to answer the questions that originated in childhood. They think that when the parents don't get along, most of the times the child bears that weight because they always think that the father left them. And we really don't understand that stuff until we become adults and we go through our own fathering, and then we understand that that some of the things that happen, we just weren't able at that particular time to understand, or it wasn't our time to understand. So let me ask you this reflection question. What beliefs about yourself were shaped by the presence or absence of a father figure in your life? What are you still carrying based on what your father did, if he was in your life, or based on the fact that your father was never in your life? What are you still carrying, and how is that blocking maybe some blessings or providing blessings for you that you don't even realize where it's coming from, right? So let's go to my third reflection and discussion point. Healing the father wounds. Let's talk about something that many people avoid. Not every Father's Day for everybody is joyful. For some people, Father's Day is super painful. Some never knew their father. Some lost their father. Some were abandoned by their father. Some experienced disappointment, neglect, or conflict. And because Father's Day can become a reminder of what was missing rather than what was present, but healing begins when we acknowledge the wounds without allowing the wound to define us. Healing begins when we stop wanting for an apology that may never come. Healing begins when we recognize that our future cannot remain hostage to our past. Forgiveness is not always about excusing behavior. Sometimes forgiveness is choosing freedom. Sometimes forgiveness is deciding that pain will no longer dictate the destiny. Sometimes forgiveness is saying what happens to me matters, but it will not determine who I become. That's what I'm saying. I meet a lot of people, and I've worked with a lot of people, athletes, community organizations, community leaders, people in different countries who, when you start to talk about their fathers, they always find something that may be wrong with what their father did, but they don't understand what it is, again, to walk in the shoes of a man, of their father. And so many people define what a man's supposed to be. Only a man can define what a man's supposed to be. And we have to get out of that, telling people what a man's supposed to be. If you're a female and you're telling a man what he's supposed to be, how are you defining what you're supposed to be? If your intel is so great about what it's supposed to be to become a man, then you should be the ultimate woman that lifts that man up. Instead of criticizing him, instead of pulling him down, you should be lifting him up. And so we have to realize that sometimes the information that we share about what a father's supposed to be or what a father should do, sometimes it's worse than the father's absence. But let's go back to another reflection question. What part of the relationship with your father or father figure still needs healing today? So the man that was in your life, the father that was in your life, what part of that relationship still needs healing today? This is what we can help you with at the Rory T. Edwards Group, because we work from the root of the pain, and that's what we work on. We work from the root of the pain, so that as you are watering the process of healing, you will know that the fruit that you bear from the healing will be much more valuable to your growth than the fruit of living with that pain, right? So I want to send a message out today to all the fathers, or those who are trying to become fathers, or those who don't know how or what to say because they are not in their children's life, and they've been gone so long they think that their children don't want to hear from them. I can guarantee you that your children want to hear from you, but I want to share a message with you today. To every father listening today, your children do not need perfection. They need presence. They need consistency. They need honesty. They need guidance. They need love. They need your time. The greatest gift a father can give his child is not wealth. Now, some of you out there are going to say, nah, I want that money. I want him to pay for me. But when those days are no longer available for him to pay for you, you're going to wish you had the time with him. The greatest gift that a father can give to his children is not wealth. It's a healthy example. Because long after possessions are forgotten, character remains. Long after gifts are gone, values remain. Long after words fade, examples remain. And now I want to send a message to the men out there, because I see so many misconstrued messages. I see so many damaging messages. I see so many of us placing blame on a system, even though the system has a lot to do with it. We still have a choice to accept the outcome of the system, or to defy the system and be what God put us on this earth to be. So let me give you a message to the men. Men, the world does not simply need more successful men. It needs more available men. Men are more emotionally healthy men, more accountable men, more present men, more courageous men, more servant leaders, more mentors, more examples. The next generation is watching. The question is, what reflections are they seeing? I want you to ask yourself that. When you walk out your door every day and you go to handle your business as you move through the day, what energy are you spewing to the world? What reflection, when people look at you, what do they see? What do they see in you? That's the big question right there. Because people aren't going to gravitate to you if they see something that's still very painful in them. So you got to understand, what reflection are you projecting as you walk into the world? I want to move on to my call to action. This week, as we get to Sunday, I challenge you to reach out to a father figure, a mentor, a coach, an uncle, a grandfather, or a male role model who positively impacted your life. Tell them. Don't assume they know. Tell them. If your father's still living, call him. Visit him. Thank him. If there is healing that needs to happen, take one step towards healing. If there's forgiveness that needs to happen, begin the process. If there's an appreciation that needs to be expressed, express it now, because tomorrow is not promised. And so my final service announcement, I got to let you know that at the Rory T. Edwards Group, our mission is helping individuals and families build stronger foundations for future generations. Through leadership, coaching, mentoring, family development, wellness services, keynote presentations, and the Empower 9 wellness method, and our durability gap model, we equip people with the tools necessary to grow, heal, lead, and thrive. To learn more about our programs and services, contact Rory T. Edwards Group and begin your journey towards transformation today. Go to rorytedwardsgroup.info@gmail.com. So as I conclude, and I hope I gave some people great nuggets today to make that call today to their father. Even if your father's gone, send up a prayer. Let him know that you're doing the best you can to represent him. Because as we close today's house call, I want you to remember this. Whether your father was present or absent, whether your relationship was strong or strained, whether your memories bring joy or pain, you still have the power to decide what happens next. You have the power to break cycles. You have the power to create new examples. You have the power to become the reflection that future generations need. Because fatherhood is not merely about biology or biological. It's about legacy, and legacy is built one decision at a time. This Father's Day, honor the fathers who showed up, pray for those who struggle, forgive where healing is possible, and commit yourself to becoming the example that someone else may need. I want to leave you with that, and I want you to know this is Dr. Rory T. Edwards, reminding you that the greatest investment will always be the investment you make in becoming the best version of yourself. I want to thank Sheila for checking in. I also want to thank my new podcast partner that we'll be jumping on probably in September, Scott Robinson, for jumping in. We're definitely going to take this to a whole nother level, and we will be sending out information very soon about that podcast. It's called Passing the Crown, the Consciousness of Two Kings. If the name is wrong, it sounds powerful just like that. The Consciousness of Passing the Crown by Two Kings. Right, so we're going to come with that real soon. We're going to have some information out, and we're going to be passing that out. We want you to definitely look for that, because that's going to be building exactly what we're talking about today. Building those bridges that build the gap that has been separated by so much assimilation and posturing that we forget what we need to create the generations that are forthcoming to be and receive the most powerful gift they can have, and that's purpose, purpose, and purpose. So until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, this has been House Calls, and the house call has been made. It's your man, Dr. Rory Edwards. God bless, and happy Father's Day to all of those fathers out there. So until we talk again, Ashe. Be well.